So, Corporal Shepherd, we meet at last. Please don't think that I've been avoiding you. A great many matters require my attention in these troubled times.
I didn't think we'd be back here so soon, but here we are, once again jumping back into the world of headcrabs, alien invasions, and science. I think I made it very clear in my Half-Life video that I absolutely love Half-Life. It's an astounding game that just delivers enjoyment. It shows up to your house dropping off enjoyment by the ton. It's a game that I can go back to anytime, boot up, and go, oh yes. Back in 1998, though, a common practice for PC games, though, was expansions. Today we have DLCs, and expansions were a little bit different than that. See, internet speeds weren't exactly as fast as they are today, so the ability to download an entire game was far less feasible. So companies often release an expansion on a disc that you go to a store and buy. Yeah, buying games in a store, what a foreign concept, am I right? Well, in 1999, Half-Life got its first ever expansion in Opposing Force, made by Gearbox Software, who are now known for making disappointing Borderlands content. Before they became a massive disappointment to the gaming industry with failures such as Battleborn, Alien Colonial Marines, or Duke Nukem Forever. No, I'm not showing the clip again. They actually were pumping out stellar content for Valve's award-winning shooter. Expansions back then were great, absolutely great. You got Final Doom, StarCraft Brood War, and of course, Opposing Force. Opposing Force, I would say, next to StarCraft Brood War, is perhaps the greatest expansion for a game that I've ever played. It does everything an expansion is supposed to do, expands the original game, adds new content, and gives us another slice of the action without eclipsing the base game. A lot of this video is going to assume you watch my previous video on Half-Life, so I'd go watch that before you watch this one. Or you could be a rebel and just trudge on forward without having a clue about half of what I'm talking about. Opposing Force gives you a lot to love, and I would honestly say that if you're begging for more Half-Life, you've got to pick up Opposing Force, because it's truly something else. If at this point you haven't paused the video and stopped listening to me rambling about it to go and play it, then what follows is me trying to convince you as to why you should play this game. If you're not convinced by the end of this video, I can only assume it's because you hate fun and all things enjoyable, and you're likely an old grandpa shaking his fist at some kids to get off his lawn somewhere, or that you're watching this video from the future and mankind has been destroyed and there's no way for you to even comprehend what I'm saying in your alien language, and all of this just sounds like incoherent clicking noises to you. Whichever is true, know this, Opposing Force is absolutely worth playing, and here's why. Design-wise, it's more of Black Mesa, but from a different perspective. It stays in tone with the base game, all while feeling fresh. You're not going to see a whole lot of design differences in your level design in terms of textures and style, but that's actually okay here. You're getting the same amazing feeling that you got from Half-Life, all while seeing a different side of Black Mesa. Most enemies from the base game make it in, but with the exciting new twist of Race X, a new alien that has arrived during the Resonance Cascade event, attacking another part of the facility while Gordon was bludgeoning Borderlands to death with his trusty red beating stick. Race X is probably the highlight of the show here. They're distinctly different from the Zen Invasion Force, while still feeling like they belong in-universe. Right away, there's just this sort of cohesiveness to them. They all feel like they belong together and on the same team. They work together better than the Zen Invasion Force ever did, creating some exciting and excellent combat sequences between them and the HECU Marines, even the Black Ops. Areas are designed optimally for larger fights between factions, and the player's given a few great vantage points to watch the battles commence before jumping in. You can hop in right away and start causing hell, or you can snipe from a distance to soften up tougher forces and deal with the survivors. It's just designed so freaking well that when you find yourself enjoying these large combat encounters, almost like, a Marine, then you have your other enemy encounters where the enemy is given the advantage, requiring you to think carefully about how you approach the situation. Though you can always cheese these encounters if you prefer. We'll talk more about how these guys work mechanically in the next segment of the video, but for now I just want to focus on their design. You've got shock troopers, which seem to be the main ground force for Race X, making some of the oddest noises. Pit drones, which seem to be some kind of repurposed wildlife that hunt in packs. Voltigores, which are absolutely massive, and we get to see their eggs and offspring, technically meaning we see the entire life cycle all the way to the end of life when Shepard puts several magnum rounds in their face. We even get a spin on classic enemies, such as the headcrab zombies now having a marine variant, and even get to see what the evolved headcrab zombie looks like in later stages of life. Then you have the Black Ops soldiers, which admittedly are just a reskin of the HECU so that you have human enemies to fight, but to be honest that's okay because they actually add quite a bit of depth to the story and they look really cool. Artistically, Opposing Force, as I said earlier, does exactly what an expansion is supposed to do, build upon what was already established while adding new elements. It does so perfectly. It's Half-Life through and through, and while its canon is contested and never confirmed directly by Valve, I will always consider it the de facto Half-Life continuation that we deserved. If you love Half-Life, you owe it to yourself to experience this expansion. I should point out though that while I say expansion, ironically in the modernized version of the game through Steam, it actually doesn't require the base game anymore as far as I know. There are few things more amazing than playing this game, and I think you all know what one of those things are. Playing this game just makes me wonder what happened to Gearbox after Borderlands. They just fell off so hard. Opposing Force is filled with amazing design choices. Then you have stupid crap like Ultimate Vault Hunter mode in Borderlands 2, where every single enemy becomes an obnoxious bullet sponge, or Alien Colonial Marines where a single line of code broke half the game. How far Gearbox has fallen after this is truly sad, and while I enjoy the hell out of this game, it makes me weep for what has become of the development team. Maybe Randy Pitchford flew too close to the sun, or maybe he just lost his damn mind. Either way, Opposing Force is a reminder that Gearbox is capable of great games, they just haven't gotten their heads out of their metaphorical asses long enough to give us one in a long time. In another universe, Gearbox kept making Half-Life expansions and we got a follow-up to Opposing Force for Half-Life 2. But instead, we live in the bad timeline where we got Battleborn instead. Reality is just far too cruel sometimes. The first thing most people will notice is all the changes to the original game that Opposing Force introduces. You're a Marine this time around, and as a Marine you're going to need a loadout fitting for a man of war. Instead of the HEV suit you have the PCV, or the Powered Combat Vest, which mechanically works the same, but is also the only thing about it the same. Everything else is revamped and supercharged. The flashlight is replaced with night vision goggles, which are far more helpful in dark areas of the game. But I noticed they can cause frame rates to tank on some systems. I'm not exactly sure what causes this, but unfortunately they seem to work fine with my computer, and admittedly I am running this on an iMac with Windows 10 installed like an absolute piece of human garbage. I'll reserve this part of the video for you all to call me a fake gamer for owning a Mac now, and I'll look forward to seeing some interesting insults in the comments below. The way Race X engages in combat definitely require a bit more thinking than the Zen Invasion Force, as they have a greater tendency to work in groups and overwhelm the player. Pit drones will attack in packs, and there's even room in the game where they will spawn infinitely if you don't close the entry points. At close range they'll deal deadly melee attacks, and at medium range they'll shoot you with spines at rapid speeds. If you're not careful they'll whittle your health way down faster than my will to live. Shock Troopers are sort of the replacement for alien grunts, but they operate far less cheap. Their attack is straightforward instead of cheap homing hornets like the alien grunts, but you gotta be careful because their weapon, the Shock Roach, will still be alive to attack the player upon their death, which is actually a nice little touch. What's satisfying though is you can turn their weapon back on them by getting a Shock Roach for yourself, which is the replacement for the Hornet Nest in the base game, and I have to say, it's a much better weapon. The alien weapons in Opposing Force are actually useful and something you'd actually enjoy using. Who would have thought that Gearbox would do something better than Valve? The Shock Roach has infinite ammo and recharges at a moderate pace, doing modest damage, able to take down most mid-tier enemies with ease, and great for softening up bigger enemies. Then you have its counterpart, the Spore Launcher. Think of this like the alien version of a grenade launcher. It lobs what I can only assume are acid projectiles at enemies and does considerable splash damage. Lastly, for new additions to alien weapons, you have the Barnacle Grapple, which isn't really a weapon as so much of a tool. As the name implies, you mostly use it to reach out of reach areas. But it's an interesting mechanic. This thing is literally one of the barnacle monsters from the original game that's been detached and now used as like a grappling hook. You got your standard weapons from the base game, such as the MP5, the rocket launcher, grenades, but then you have a few newcomers. The Colt Python is replaced with the Desert Eagle with a laser sight that feels really satisfying to use actually. And the crossbow is replaced with the M40A1 sniper rifle. Then you have perhaps the most satisfying gun, the M249 light machine gun. This thing rips enemies apart, and that's going to be very helpful because tougher enemies like the Voltigores are going to make the extra firepower absolutely necessary. This is probably my favorite gun in the entire game, and it just feels excellent to use. Come up! The Abyss change though is the crowbar, which is replaced with not one but two melee weapons. A pipe wrench, which is slow but packs quite a punch and has a charge attack that does considerably more damage, and a combat knife, which is more or less a reskinned crowbar. Personally, I find myself using the knife more, but that's just preference. A selling point that Opposing Force marketed itself on, and one that'd be criminal not to mention in this video, is, yes, you play as one of the HECU Marines in the game, so naturally that means you can now command a squad to fight alongside you, and they are far more useful than the security guards in the base game, and even necessary to progress in some situations. You have certain doors that you'll need engineers to weld through, and even medics that you'll need to escort to certain areas to progress. It's actually really cool how they managed to change up the escort gameplay beyond the original's lead scientist door to open door design. It's a bit more going on here. It's a nice addition. Then you get to the Black Ops, who are this game's version of the HECU. And as I mentioned before, mechanically they work the same, but hey, Half-Life wouldn't feel the same without human enemies, and of course, the specialists again. The last thing I want to talk about is the teleportation device. It's a weird weapon that can hold the alt fire to teleport you to Zen locations for ammo resupplies at different intervals of the game. It's a unique little mechanic that can save your bacon if you find yourself strapped for resources, and of course I guess you could use it to teleport your foes to far away if you really want to. While Opposing Force doesn't have you spend much time in Zen proper, that's not actually a bad thing, as I don't think many people were missing the jank of Zen from the first game, if I'm perfectly honest. No need to master tricky art of long jumping here, that's for sure. Opposing Force feels like a different experience, and that's a good thing. It sets itself apart from the base game, while keeping the DNA hard-coded into itself. You can't go wrong with this game, but you can go wrong by buying Battleborn on launch day for $60 like I did. If you can look past Gearbox's current state of affairs though, you'll find an insanely enjoyable experience in this game.
Ah yes, Walter. We were finally able to successfully detach one of the barnacle creatures from its point of gestation.
I don't think there's much reason to retell most of the story of Half-Life, just because you can watch my video on Half-Life for that, and frankly, I don't know why you're watching a video on the expansion if you haven't watched the video on the base game. But to summarize quickly, Dr. Freeman is involved in an experiment that goes horribly wrong at the Black Mesa Research facility that's funded by the government. That causes an event called the Resonance Cascade, which results in portals opening up all over the facility and hungry head crabs showing up. Now you're up to speed. Opposing Force opens up with a tutorial level which shows you the new mechanics set in a traditional military boot camp where the drill instructors just parry the movie Full Metal Jacket over and over.
Where are you from, soldier? Texas? Holy cow! You know what comes from Texas, don't you? As you can see, you are not dead!
Corporal Adrian Shepard, the player character, is pushed to the top of the advanced training list and enlisted to be a part of the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit, or HECU for short. You know, those guys who were trying to kill you in the first game. Because in case you haven't figured it out from this late in the video, or the title, or me just blatantly pointing it out, in this game you play as the other guys on the other side of the conflict in the Black Mesa incident. After some basic training, Shepard is sent away a few weeks later to go clean up the mess at Black Mesa.
Well, the pilot thought we were heading to your mother's house. So far, this all looks familiar.
Things don't go exactly as planned. After regaining consciousness, Shepard was unaware of what his actual orders were, so unlike the rest of the HECU, he isn't aware that he's supposed to be neutralizing every single egghead scientist he sees. Instead, he uses their cooperation to navigate his way to a radio to find out they're pulling out of Black Mesa. Though, in all fairness, by the stupidity of some of the Black Mesa staff, I don't think they needed the HECU's help in them being eliminated. Of course, Shepard is surprised to find that aliens have invaded the facility, so he will naturally have to fight his way to the evacuation site. The moment he arrives, though, an old friend has other plans and seals the door. With no choice, Shepard now has to push on and find his own way out, which he finds other Marines from the HECU that have been left behind as well. They all collectively agree to work together to save themselves, though they inevitably run into a new alien race, Race X, coming to Earth through the same portal storm that the invasion force from Zen arrived through, trying to capitalize on this opportunity. Between them and the Black Ops, Shepard has his work cut out for him. This is where things get a bit interesting. The Black Ops were apparently sent to clean up the remaining HECU forces that didn't make out of the facility as part of a larger cover-up operation to eliminate any who disclosed what happened to the Black Mesa incident to the public. This ultimately results in HECU and the Black Ops fighting each other for the remainder of the game. Eventually, a really cool thing actually happens, and Shepard manages to arrive at the very portal chamber that Gordon jumps to Zen from the end of the original Half-Life, only seconds behind him. Though if he attempts to follow him, he'll just fall to his death. Instead, he has to flinch back and forth between Zen and Earth to progress to the facility using teleportation. He ends up seeing several parts of Black Mesa that reveal the true extent of how much they were truly studying Zen prior to the first game. It's actually quite a nice addition of lore building. See, this is what expansions are supposed to do, improve what has already been established. When Shepard arrives at Waste Processing Area number 3, though, he's met with a large, towering worm monster called the Pit Worm. Normal gunfire won't bring this behemoth down, and instead the player has to activate a valve and gearbox, and yes, these are Easter eggs toward the developers, albeit not that subtle. It's a bit similar to Blast Pit from the base game. They have to navigate through a central area with a large creature and then ultimately flip a switch to kill it, but it's varied enough to feel like an homage to the tentacle monster from the first game and not just a cheap knockoff, and I can appreciate that. Plus, he has a satisfying death. Once he's cooked in green goo, you move on to the final stretch of the game. Revisiting the same dam from surface tension in the base game, we can now see things have gone straight to hell, as Shepard fights his way past Race X, the Black Ops, and the Zen invasion forces. Finally, Shepard overhears a plan by the Black Ops that they intend to detonate a thermonuclear warhead to blow up the entire facility. He fights his way past them and deactivates the bomb, but after he has passed the point where he can go back, he sees the G-Man reactivating it. Eventually, Shepard comes to the final boss of the game, the Gene Worm, a creature intended to unleash portals all over the facility so it can bring more of its race to conquer the planet. Shepard has to put it down to stop Race X's plans. As far as final battles go, it's not the most satisfying, and it's definitely not as interesting as the Nihilanth, but it's good enough, I guess. However, I've always hated how there isn't much visual feedback in him for to know if you're even damaging him, not even any blood. I prefer my enemies to bleed when they're screaming in agony, but that's just me. Once he's dead, Race X's plans are thwarted and we get the ending sequence where the G-Man decides to preserve Shepard for a future game that has yet to come.
We have decided to convey you somewhere you can do no possible harm, and where no harm can come to you. I'm sure you can imagine there are worse alternatives.
Story-wise, it's interesting, albeit a bit on the light side. It doesn't add too much to the Half-Life universe, but it's enough to justify the action and I'm not upset over it. Plus, that has a pretty satisfying ending sequence to the G-Man, which I really love, and he gives a really cool speech just like he did in the base game, so it's a nice little touch, and with the same voice actor, might I add. While I will say the soundtrack doesn't hit as hard as the original Half-Life, it's still pretty great stuff. A lot more drums and military-style anthems, but it does fit the theme and tone. The music is done by Chris Jensen this time around, and he does deliver. Sound effect-wise, it's borrowing a lot of sounds from the base game, but that's not a bad thing. As far as Race X go, they have their own unique sounds, but they still feel like they jive well with the universe they're in. Gearbox actually nailed this one, which is surprising given how things would go downhill for them over a decade later. Weapons have that satisfying set of noises associated with them, and I gotta say, I can't complain. Overall, you got a great package here. There's really not much else to say about it. It's pretty good. It's good stuff, and honestly, it's probably right up there with Half-Life in its terms of its sound design anyway. Like the original game, Opposing Force has a multiplayer component and a capture the flag mode if you find servers with people still playing it. I expect the same level of jank as other 1990s online shooters though, but from my understanding it's good enough, and it still has active players to this day. You're not getting any real unlockables here, just like the original base game, but that's not a bad thing. The game is just so good that you'll want to play it again and again. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I have dozens of hours clocked into this game, and it only really takes about 5 hours to finish. It's shorter than the original Half-Life by a hair or two, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. You never feel like you're enduring an endurance test for too long, and you're given just the right amount of content for an expansion. Again, you don't want to eclipse the original game, and it's rare as sequels surpassing the original, but Opposing Force comes about as close as you can get to being Doom 2, where it edges out the original just slightly. Once I'm done writing the script for this video, I'm probably going to play Opposing Force again, and that's just a testament of how absolutely amazing it is. My huge stockpile of games they have to get around to playing sits there mocking me, and my wife is probably rolling her eyes, but I'll be damned if I stop replaying old classics for their fun factor. If she's watching this video, I'm sorry, but the allure of these old games is just too strong for any gamer to resist. If you don't believe me, I dare you to play it for yourself, but be warned, you may start to think other games are crap by comparison afterward. To quote John F. Kennedy, play Opposing Force or you suck. I'm pretty sure he said that. I didn't think I'd be back so soon to discuss a Half-Life game again, but here we are. Opposing Force just kinda does that to me. You just boot it up and the next thing you know, you've made an entire video rambling about how amazing it is. You have to be careful with games that's this fun. The temptation to boot it back up and dump another few hours into it is always lingering around you. Kinda like some kind of time vampire waiting to suck you in for one more time. I would say that I'm immune to it at this point, but that would just be a blatant lie. Opposing Force's charm is just too strong for me to stop replaying it, but that's okay. You can, however, enjoy the charm of my videos making you replay them over and over again by checking out my other videos on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can see more videos like this one. And leave your thoughts on Opposing Force in the comments below. I'm Wispplay, and that's enough of that.